Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Catching Up with Bayonetta, the wayward sister and the eyes of the world. Bayonetta takes place in a world much like our own, but with two other worlds, unseen to human eyes, that overlap it. Paradiso, home of the angels and realm of light, and Inferno, home of the demons and realm of darkness. These three realities, layered on top of one another, make up the Trinity of realities. There does exist, however, a realm that can be used to travel between the Trinity, Purgatorio, which can only be accessed by the Overseers of History, the European clans of the Umbra Witches and the Lumen Sages, who maintained the balance of darkness and light respectively. The game begins with two of these Umbra Witches doing battle with the Angels of Paradiso, the realm of light. The harmony between the two clans has been broken and war has ensued. The war ended in the Umbra Witches' favour, but this did not last. The fear the humans felt toward the Umbra Witches' dark power was stoked, and while they recovered from their arduous war, the witch hunts began and eradicated all but one of the Umbra Witches. In the present day, our story begins in a lonely little graveyard where a nun and Enzo, an Italian-American information broker, preside over a burial. All isn't quite as it seems though. When the heavens burst and spew forth a handful of angels from Paradiso, our nun, a disguised Bayonetta, in case you hadn't caught on, rises to meet them and kicks their ass with the help of Showdown, a demonic man who had served as bait in the casket. Turns out Bayonetta has been forced to sacrifice angels every day lest she be dragged into Inferno long before her time is up. She spent the last 20 years doing so, ever since she was dragged from the bottom of a lake with no memories, the only touchstone of her past, a stone she woke up with. This forgotten past quickly catches up with her though. On her way to the gates of hell, a bar owned by Showdown, a forgotten face decides to drop in. The pair dispatch of a gaggle of angels only for the woman to disappear, leaving Bayonetta with a flashback of being stabbed by her. Regardless, it's clear that somebody is calling Bayonetta out. Enzo proves his worth, discovering that the gem Bayonetta wears is part of a set known as the Eyes of the World, and he's tracked down its counterpart to the city of Vigrid. Vigrid is a city in Europe that lies far closer to Paradiso than normal. It once served as the home of the Umbra Witches and Lumen Sages before they were eradicated, and is now the heart of the Laguna Faith and the Ithavoll group, with the latter being responsible for the rapid modernization of the city. Furthermore, it is said that the head of the Ithavoll group is the paragon of Laguna worship, as well as a descendant of the Lumen Sages themselves. As Bayonetta arrives in Vigrid, a mysterious voice calls out to her, telling her that the time to awaken the eyes of the world has come. After battling through an infestation of angels, she is once again assailed by a flashback, this time of fighting this utter monster, Fortitudo, alongside fleeing Umbran witches, or, as I like to call him, Dragon Nips. It kind of works. Haunted by the fleeting memory, she enters the city proper, only to once again encounter our scarlet-suited friend, though this time she's riding a motorbike that cares not for any pesky laws of physics. She just showed up to kind of troll Bayonetta a bit, stealing and returning her gem and taunting her over her missing past and forgotten fate. This inadvertently triggers another flashback to the pair dueling. The Scarlet Witch, heir to the Umbra clan, selected Bayonetta as the witch she would battle in order to fight under its name. Bayonetta regains her senses to find her former clanmate gone, but no longer entirely forgotten. On the streets of Vigrid, Bayonetta bumps into this precious boy.
Do you believe in fate? Fate brought us here together, and it will never tear us apart.
Despite being unable to see the witch or the angel she battles, Luca gets a whiff of Bayonetta, telling her that he had followed her to Vigrid after planting a bug on Enzo. It was his father that found Bayonetta at the bottom of the lake, and Luca's final memory of dear old daddy is watching him get torn apart by the Umbra Witch. His revenge will have to wait though, as Bayonetta uses an angel attack to elude him once more. Bayonetta also briefly bumps into this girl and is assaulted by yet another flashback of the pair on opposing sides of a cell. No time to wallow in half-remembered memories though, as this bugger shows up again. He must really like getting his ass kicked by women in heels. Once he's got his fill, he scarpers, but not without sending the whole city to a figurative hell. With fire bursting from the ground, flaming angels roaming the streets, and burning meteors crashing through the sky, Bayonetta uses her magic to avoid burning to death and escapes the city via its catacombs, even making a brief foray into Paradiso to pick up a time turner. That's the last Doctor Who reference I'm ever making, I swear to God. With a last look back at the enscorcelled city, Bayonetta makes her way into a busted up Colosseum for another encounter with Dragon Nips. The Greater Angel is making nasty plans with an unseen co-conspirator before trying to chat up Bayonetta. She's not interested, mate, sorry. She kicks his ass again with the help of more timey-wimey stuff. That's the last Harry Potter reference I'm making, I swear to God. After getting his nips torn off and a hole pecked through his face by one of Bayonetta's hairy friends, he claims everything has all gone to Kekaku. Bayonetta is part of a prophecy foretelling the resurrection of the creator, Jubileus. As she watches what's left of the angel get dragged to Inferno, she's spoken to the mysterious voice yet again before taking a fall through the ruins of the Colosseum. She lands in some old Umbran training grounds, which eventually lead to Jormungandr Tower. Bayonetta ascends the tower thanks to her witchcraft, before her climb is interrupted by Jeanne and a new angel, Temperantia, who shall hereby be known as Humpty Dumpty. Seems there's some division in the enemy's ranks. Jeanne denies Humpty Dumpty any involvement, so he throws a tantrum like a kind of overblown, heaven-fueled baby and blows a load of shit up in retaliation. Bayonetta and Jeanne do battle in one of the best action scenes in the game, Jeanne eventually declaring that Bayonetta isn't ready before running off and leaving our heroine to escape from another bunch of falling rocks. Is that their plan? To kill Bayonetta through rockfall? In the Proving Ground ruins, Bayonetta once again finds the little girl she had briefly bumped into earlier, Ceresa, a lost little girl who mistakes Bayonetta for her mummy and must be protected at all costs. She is adorable. If I had a womb and a heart, my maternal instincts would be going into fucking overdrive right now. The mystery voice makes another appearance, telling Bayonetta that Ceresa is the key to her future. The pair take a trip through Paradiso, meeting an angel with a lolly fetish, and meet up with Luca, who misunderstands the situation, assuming Bayonetta has killed Ceresa's parents and kidnapped her. Never one to look a gift horse in the mouth, she takes advantage of this, leaving the girl in his care before they are separated by a storm. Not a kid person, our Bayonetta.
If there's two things I hate in this world, it's cockroaches and crying babies.
The source of the storm is Humpty Dumpty, who promptly has his arms torn off, his face flattened like a pancake, and is sent to Inferno by one of Bayonetta's hairy demon friends. He doesn't leave without revealing a little more of the Angel's plan, however, to merge the Trinity realities into one. With the oversized egg dealt with, Bayonetta hitches a ride with Luca, who inadvertently reveals exactly where the other eye of the world lies. At the far end of the bridge he's racing across is Isla del Sol, home to the Ifavol group and the man who put the stone on the black market. Before she makes it, however, the bridge falls, as quite predictably at this point does she, and Bayonetta is sucked into Paradiso, where she finds the Graveyard of Remembrance, a broken and distorted version of Vigrid. This leads her to the Sea of Stars and the prison from her flashbacks. Here she finds a suspicious wooden carving bearing the names of Jeanne and Ceresa before she, yet again, falls down a hole. This is a real problem. The poor girl is constantly falling down shit. She finds a way out of Paradiso just in time to save Luca and Ceresa from an angel attack. As the battle ensues, Luca realises with the help of Ceresa's magical angel-seeing glasses what really happened all those years ago. It was never Bayonetta who had murdered his father, but a bunch of angels that he had been unable to see on account of his lack of magical eyesight. Realising his error, he watches as Bayonetta takes another tumble and saves her. Finally, Bayonetta catches a break from gravity in the form of our favourite dashing journalist. The adventure is cut short by another giant angel. I don't know how to say that name. I'll just call it Tentacle Lad. Bayonetta kicks its ass, and we get another tidbit about the prophecy. This time, Tentacle Lad attributes it to a Lumen Sage before taking a trip to Inferno. Now that Luca's not mad at Bayonetta, he provides her with a brief history lesson that clarifies a few points from earlier on. Before their disappearance 500 years ago, Vigrid played host to the Umbra Witches and Lumen Sages, each of which held one of the eyes of the world, a pair said to have the power to create history together. The two clans set out to lead the world to peace, but a child born to a pair of star-crossed lovers from either clan disrupted the balance between light and dark. The mother thrown in jail, the father exiled from his clan, the child was raised by the Umbra and set both clans on a path to ruin. Legends told that the eyes of the world had the power to control reality when united, a power so great that the clans began to battle over it until both were destroyed. One of these eyes belongs to Bayonetta, while the other lies with the head of the Ifavol group. As Luca tells the story, Bayonetta bears another flashback of an imprisoned Umbra witch giving a child a necklace watch, presumably her mother giving it to her, though it's not quite clear which person in the vision she believes herself to be, and later matters kind of muddy that even further. As Luca runs off to get a plane prepared, Bayonetta shares a moment with Ceresa, asking her what she holds most important. The little girl pulls out a watch just like the one Bayonetta has, much to her surprise. She ties a ribbon through it and places it around the little girl's neck, telling her to keep it safe and close to her heart. The adorable moment is ruined when the group is attacked, Luca forced to swing in and save Ceresa, the pair landing atop a plane only for Luca to fall off and Ceresa to fall in. Bayonetta quickly gets inside the plane and rushes toward the girl, only to be interrupted by a returning Jeanne. The Red Witch goads Bayonetta on, telling her to give in to hatred and earn the left eye. The pair then engage in probably the best cutscene fight of the game until Bayonetta finds a lull in the combat to continue her rescue of Ceresa. Sapientia, or Ship Lizard, has other ideas though, interrupting the rescue to evaluate Bayonetta's value in her role in Jubileus' resurrection apparently.
Ooh.
Their first attempt failed 500 years ago due to the weakness of their leader, though he did manage to eradicate the witches. After his defeat, Ship Lizard leaves with perhaps the most cryptic clue so far. It's not the gem they're after at all. Any further information descends with him into Inferno, and the trio escape on a helicopter, making their way to the Ithavoll building, its leader, and the Right Eye.
Welcome to my fantasy zone. Get ready.
At least that was the plan until the helicopter blows up and they're forced to surf to Isla del Sol on a fucking missile while playing Space Harrier. I'm not shitting you, that's how bonkers this game gets, and it's about to go even further, so strap in and get ready for some delightful anime nonsense.
Bayonetta.
Upon entering Isla del Sol, Jeanne shows up and declares that Bayonetta is back to her old self. Let's celebrate with some fireworks. Wait, shit Jeanne, they're missiles. Jeanne elaborates on the prophecies spoken of by the greater angels. The intersection of light and dark would bring calamity to the earth, and Bayonetta herself, child of an Umbra witch and Lumen sage, is believed to be that very intersection. Jeanne sees Bayonetta as a danger to the world that their clan had sought peace for, one that she must deal with herself.
Bayonetta, time is of the essence. This can wait no longer.
The best boss fight in the game then takes place as the pair battle through a crumbling city, on a missile, on the bloody walls, all over the place, until Bayonetta finally overcomes Jeanne. The defeated Jeanne tells Bayonetta that though fear remains in her eyes, she has accepted her fate as bearer of the left eye. Bayonetta recalls more of the flashbacks she received upon first encountering Jeanne. The blade she had plunged into Bayonetta's chest was not aimed to kill her, but to absorb her into the gem, allowing Jeanne to protect her childhood friend from the witch hunts. In this way, Jeanne was able to keep Bayonetta safe, right up until she was able to leave the gem at the bottom of the lake. Jeanne leaves Bayonetta with one final message, to open her eyes and see the truth. Making yet another sacrifice to protect Bayonetta, Jeanne pushes Bayonetta away, saving her from a missile. The explosion sends Bayonetta crashing through a window where she once again meets Luca and Ceresa. As the trio arrive at the Ithavoll building, the mysterious voice calls to Bayonetta once more, goading her into awakening the eyes of the world. This time, however, Ceresa also hears the voice, answering it with a cry of "Daddy!" As she chases the voice, Bayonetta hurries after her, while Luca is lost behind the shutting door. At the apex of the building, Bayonetta meets the last Lumen Sage, the bearer of the mysterious voice, her father, Baldur. The Lumen Sage drops a double bombshell on her. One, he calls her Ceresa. Two, he reveals that she is the left eye, not the gem she carries. To awaken the eye, he plotted her entire journey. The claims of selling the right eye to lure her out, plucking a younger version of herself out of time, as only the sight of herself would awaken the eye, and placing the greater angels in her path to strengthen her through the trial of combat. All of this was done to restore her memories and awaken the left eye. With both eyes awakened, they will grant him the power to revive Jubileus and combine the Trinity of reality to give birth to a new universe, a goal that he failed to accomplish 500 years ago. A bloodied and bruised Luca emerges to taunt the sage, but it backfires when Baldur reveals the truth of his father's death. Luca's father was in the employ of Baldur to find Bayonetta, and it was he who had sent the angels to kill him when this job had been accomplished, lest any rumours could get out. Luca's rage at this revelation is stymied by the appearance of angels who grab him and begin to tear him apart just as they had his father. While Bayonetta saves him, she is unable to do anything when Baldur sends him crashing through a window to his demise.
Well, I guess my plan has gone right out the window.
Luca's not the only friend of Bayonetta's that Baldur has wronged, however, as he reveals that after Jeanne protected Bayonetta for so long, he brainwashed her and turned her into his tool. All of her actions, bar saving Bayonetta from the missile, were at his behest. Baldur kind of absorbs, or something, the younger Ceresa, grows a bunch of wings, and then attacks Bayonetta. The two do battle atop the falling ruins of the Ithavold building until Bayonetta takes her shot and plants her lipstick, fired from one of her cool guns, right between his eyes, rescuing Ceresa from his weird chest hole, just in time to reunite with Luca, who Bayonetta had actually saved with a missile.
I've got to give you credit, Bayonetta. You never cease to impress.
With Baldur defeated, Bayonetta creates a portal to Ceresa's own time, telling her younger self that it was all just a dream before singing her to sleep. Unknown to Bayonetta, however, this was also a part of Baldur's plan. He rises without any gaping head wounds to explain that it was truly Ceresa he was after all along, as exposing her to Bayonetta would remove the fear holding her back and awaken the left eye. Bayonetta gets a glimpse of these changes to the timeline. The golden necklace watch protects her from Jeanne's blade. Bayonetta rises victorious and free of her fear, and the pair battle angels together. All of this awakens Bayonetta to her true potential as the left eye of darkness. Bayonetta loses consciousness with the shock of the altered timeline, and Baldur drags her into the left eye of the enormous statue atop the Ithavold building, while taking his place in its right eye. That's no statue. Jubileus has awoken.
May Jubileus the Creator grace all its creation.
The citizens of Isla del Sol and Vigrid watch as Jubileus ascends to the skies, seated atop the Ithavold building's giant rocket that was hiding all along. Jeanne, who it turns out had used the gem to shield herself from the missile that had appeared to kill her, rides her gravity-defying motorbike up the rocket, intent on saving Bayonetta. Despite Baldur's best efforts, she makes it just as Baldur begins the process of creation, pulling Bayonetta out of the eye before drifting off into space. With the left eye removed, Jubileus goes out of control. The battle for the universe begins, and after battling the camera more than the actual enemy, Bayonetta calls upon this queen hair thing to punch Jubileus' soul out of its body, sending it hurtling toward the sun. I promised glorious anime nonsense, and I bloody well delivered. Bayonetta remains atop the stony corpse left behind as it hurtles toward Earth, powerless to save herself or her planet. Until Jeanne shows up, once more escaping death by chancing upon her motorcycle in the void of space. These characters have a remarkable knack for showing back up after their apparent death. The pair go about breaking apart the corpse of Jubileus, saving the planet which they continue to hurtle toward. Luca watches on, hoping in vain to see an emerging Bayonetta. A few days later, Enzo and Rodan return to the graveyard along with Luca to hold a funeral for their departed friend. As the angels descend, the presiding nun rises to slaughter them once again, but is this time revealed as Jeanne. Bayonetta quickly joins in the fun, and the pair get back to what they do best, the mass slaughter of angels. With the threat of Jubileus dealt with, her past unveiled, and her friend once more by her side, Bayonetta continues to dance on.
Let's dance, boys!
And that was the story of Bayonetta. To be honest, I've never held the story itself in as high regard as the gameplay, characters, soundtrack, and pretty much everything else, but it's good to get it all together in anticipation of Bayonetta 3. Breaking it apart like this has given me a much greater appreciation for it. There are a few holes here and there, but overall I feel it tells a pretty good story that serves as the perfect foundation for its gameplay. The narrative provides for spectacular gameplay sequences such as the encounters with Jeanne that build towards like one of the best boss fights you're ever going to see, which they serve to get you really invested in them for that fight. And the actions of the angels serve as a justification for some of the really cool level designs, such as the town of Vigrid getting blown up by lava. I also genuinely think Luca is one of the more novel characters of this game's time. Bayonetta released when the PS3 and Xbox 360 were at their prime and games were dominated by big dudes with guns on revenge quests. So to see a character who rejected revenge in favour of justice was, and arguably still is, a breath of fresh air. I also really enjoyed seeing his relationship with Bayonetta shift as the pair continued to interact. And there's even a small amount of surprising subtlety to their interaction, when a lot more is kind of unspoken than it is spoken when Luca discovers the truth of his father's death. I'm not about to put this game anywhere near the pantheon of video game storytelling, but to say it's completely without merit would be kind of dishonest. So now that we're all caught up with Bayonetta, in the next few weeks or months, or however long it takes really, I'll be preparing both a recap of Bayonetta 2 and a video on just why I love these two games so bloody much. If that sounds like your kind of thing, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.